What's going on, YouTube? Today is an exciting day again. I am on a Indian Springfield Darkhorse. First time on this guy, first time on a bagger by Indian. I'm going to try to break this down into my typical YouTube review, but don't expect a really in-depth review. You can expect just kind of like how the bike rides, how it feels. We'll talk about ergonomics a little bit, the styling, aesthetics, and all that good stuff. Yeah, a little nervous because it's sprinkling here and I don't want to drop this bike. But this is a bike that from Indian that has really captivated me, has really interested me, because I think it's kind of right in that wheelhouse of like looks, performance, touring capability. So I'm really excited to see what this bike is all about. All right, so let's get some of the details out of the way, although this isn't a technical review, but I just want to talk about, you know, this is obviously one of the baggers from Indian Motorcycles. Comes with their Thunderstroke 116, very powerful, has about 126 foot-pounds of torque. So very capable machine, has forwards, cruise control, lots of amenities set up for touring. And one thing that I'm really noticing as soon as I get on this bike are these really tall apes. My hands are fully in like a 90-degree angle against my body, so that actually feels pretty comfortable. I feel like I can cruise on this for a really long time, and that's obviously what it's set up for. All right, so let's get into the ergonomics first, because that's like the first thing that I notice. Have these forwards with very large floorboards. I can put my feet just about anywhere, so really comfortable. Like I can all the way put it all the way back to the edge, and it's almost like I'm riding mid controls, or I can go all the way forward. So unless you got like size 14 feet, you'll be fine with these floorboards. So very comfortable in terms of like foot placement. And then this seat, it feels really nice. Of course, it's hard to gauge a seat's comfort just in a quick demo ride, but for right now, it feels really nice. But my favorite part are these really large apes. My hands are right in front of me, 90-degree angle. I just feel like right out of the box, you know, this is probably one of the best setups that I've seen. And like I said, Thunderstroke 116, plenty of power, so I can definitely feel that torquiness. Also worth noting that this bike has 3 different modes, 3 different riding modes. I'm not gonna really test that out. I think this is on the standard mode, but feels pretty good. Has cruise control, so really nice setup from the start.
It's also worth noting that the Indian Springfield comes with some additional features like keyless ignition, tire pressure monitoring, cruise control, rear cylinder deactivation, slam bags with remote locks. All the features have been really well thought out, and I think you get everything you need for longer road trips and nothing you don't. For those that don't really care for speakers, navigation system, and a large fairing, the Springfield presents a really nice package. But let's be honest, if you're looking at the Springfield as your next bike, I'm going to guess that you're attracted to this bike more so for the looks. This bike is truly a work of art, especially in the black finish. It's all blacked out and it just looks cool, and I think it can make anyone look like a badass just sitting on one of these things. The Springfield truly is a work of art in my opinion, and this is one of those bikes that I don't know if I'd change anything because of how nice it is straight from the factory.
But what really attracted me to this bike is just the aesthetics on this bike. I think this is one of the best Indian motorcycles, best looking Indian motorcycles on the market today. I love that little decorative piece on the fender, just very well thought out. Obviously this bike is set up for touring, long distance, etc., but so far it feels pretty nimble. You know, a lot of these bikes, once you get it on the road, once you get it moving, the weight becomes unnoticeable. So far it feels pretty nimble, feels pretty good, although you're not really gonna be, you know, making quick turns, making quick movements on these things. That turn felt pretty good. We do want to be careful because the ground is kind of wet, the road is wet. It's been raining all week here, so we do want to be cautious. Like there's gravel over here. But man, this feels great. Obviously this bike is like a mirror image of the Harley-Davidson Road King. Now granted, I've never tested out the Road King, so I don't have a baseline comparison, but The other bikes that I've tried out from Harley Davidson and the other bikes that I've tried out from Indian is kind of what I'm using as a baseline to compare. This bike feels really good, very, very smooth all throughout the gears. The gears have a really nice precision to it, meaning when I switch into different gears, it just has a really nice feedback. I believe the Springfield comes with the 5.5 gallon tank. Kind of reminds me of the Harley Davidson tanks with the 2 fuel caps.
The thing I love about baggers without fairings is that you can add a removable fairing if you want, hence making the Springfield a little bit more of a versatile motorcycle than baggers with fixed fairings. Let's face it, not every ride is going to be a 1,000-mile road trip. Some trips will be, around town, and for that application, you may not want a giant windshield. I do wish for the price Indian would include a removable windshield with the Springfield, but maybe next year. The Springfield Darkhorse checked off a lot of boxes for me, and through these curves, I was surprised at how adept the Springfield was at handling them. I was a little nervous at first getting on such a big bike, but after spending a little bit of time with the Springfield, the bike felt very natural. Through these curves, the bike handled itself really well for such a large bike, and the weight made me feel very planted to the ground. The Springfield is a capable motorcycle and then some. It seems to pack a great punch with the functionality, performance, and great looks. All in all, the Springfield checked off a lot of boxes that I would want in a motorcycle.
All right, so through those curves, this bike felt really smooth and stable. This bike, I believe, is about 790 pounds, but you wouldn't be able to feel that at all. You wouldn't be able to tell. It just leans very effortlessly, very smooth in the corners. And I love the feedback from the engine braking, the vibration of the handlebars. It just feels very raw. And when you give it gas, it just responds. I love that. This is just a really well done bike. It feels really good, feels really smooth. Everything's been well thought out here. At first, I was a little bit nervous getting on this bike. I've been on baggers before, but I don't. At any demos, you don't want to be that guy that drops the bike, obviously. So, I was a little bit nervous, but after about maybe 10-15 minutes on this bike, this bike feels really natural to me. And I think it's a credit to the engineering on the bike specifically, because it doesn't really take a whole lot of effort to ride this bike. Once you get it going, it feels really smooth. It kind of rides itself a little bit. Throttle isn't like super torquey or anything like that. All right, make a right angle turn. Not so bad. Take your time. Super easy. All right. Woo! Third gear almost hit 80, I believe. That was awesome. Man. So I can see why a lot of Scout Bobber owners trade up for this bike, because this bike just gives you that just raw feeling like the Scout Bobber does, right? No windshield, no nothing, just a lot of good power, a lot of good tactile feedback, just a really fun bike. But obviously with the bags, the 5.5 gallon tank, cruise control, it's got a lot of the amenities that you would want if you want to, ride a lot longer, go longer distances, things like that. And at the same time, this bike just feels ridiculously smooth and stable. Like I'm doing these little mini S's here that I love to do on all my test rides, and it feels really nimble for a bike that is about close to 800 pounds. And I gotta say, I love these extra large floorboards. On a long ride, to be able to have some movement on your feet, on your legs, that's pretty critical. To be able to move it all the way back, kind of like for a more aggressive stance, and then all the way forward if you want to relax a little bit, or in between. Really like that. The other thing that I want to note is that, even though it might not be a performance-oriented machine necessarily, it's more of a touring bike, it does have dual disc brakes for some really good stopping power. I believe it has dual disc brakes. I'll confirm that. Remote locking bags, which that's actually new to me. I've never seen that before. But I just want to call that out. So for the money that you spend on Indian motorcycles, I think you get a little bit more value for your money. Which is why I think a lot of Harley riders tend to switch over to Indian, just because you know, we all work really hard for the money that we earn. Why not try to get the best motorcycle we can? And a lot of times that's, you know, the Indian. So hey, if that works for them, great. All right, so fairly short demo ride. I hope I covered all the points, but you know, this was really just like a first impression. And I gotta say, I'm amazed by this bike. I want to try out the Road King, but you know, even without that baseline comparison, this bike just is incredibly smooth. And I've tested out the Sport Chief and a lot of the bobbers, but this is just next level here. Once you get some pipes on these, it'll sound so nice. I might have to switch over to Indian soon, guys. I don't know how much longer I can hold out. But thanks for tuning into this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.